successor agency. Madam Clerk, Councilmember Peters will be leading us in the pledge today, so please join us.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, if you could take roll, please.
Alvin Smith. Here. Marcel Hay. Here. Norvell.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Raffanin. Here.
Okay, we have nothing under agenda review this evening, but we do have several items under mayor's recognitions and announcements. First one is pretty exciting. We have 3 new officers being sworn in by Chief Milty. Chief Milty, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Captain, if I could have all the uniform officers move up behind the, and officers move up behind the council there, please. They usually get caught in a corner there, so I'm trying to get them out, get some exposure. They hate it when I do that. I said, Franco, you come this way. Baker and Moore, you guys 3 will be right here in front. So just while they're moving around, not right here in front of the city council, sorry. We haven't rehearsed this at all. So basically, we hired 3 new recruits to be police officers. They attended the police academy in Humboldt, College of the Redwoods. They spent 6 months up there going through some grueling training. They were worked 6-7 days a week, 8 to 12 hours a day. They faced a week off with COVID issues, and so it was extended. But Friday they graduated out of 15 people. I think they started with 19 or 17, and then these 14 of them graduated, and 3 of these people are from Fort Bragg. So, okay, so we're going to swear them in so they could be officially employees and work for the city of Fort Bragg. So June, our honorable city clerk, she'll be doing the swearing in ceremony.
Without any reservation or subdivision, and that you will well and faithfully on which you are. Natural mandate of causing emergency with natural work straight peril to life, property.
As they're signing the forms, their significant others will have their badges, and they'll pin their badges on. It's an honor to have a badge. It represents dedication, honor, integrity, and so they'll each be identified by a specific number. Officer Moore, she'll be 5'4", Officer Franco will be 6'1", and Officer Baker will be 6'2". And they actually, 2 of them, Moore and Baker, started their first day of training. They have to go through anywhere from 10 to 16 weeks of field training. So if I could have you guys back up in front, and then your significant relatives could come up, and if you want to bring the children or anyone else. And so try not to hurt them. So we have Officer Moore has her father and her mom's present to pin on the badge. Officer Franco has his fiance, Casey, right? And Officer Baker has Kelly. Sorry, can't even remember my own name. So I got a name tag. All right. Well, thank you. If you want to stand next to him really quick. All right, so first I'm going to talk about Officer Baker. Tyler moved to Fort Bragg in 2007. Is his mom here? Tamara?
Karen first, brother.
Okay, yeah, so they're dealing with the issue. So Tyler moved to Fort Bragg in 2007 when he was 9 years old with his mother, Tamara, and two older brothers, Marcus and Vincent, from Stockton, California. His mother began working at Coast Hospital, where she still works today. He laughs because when they moved to town, the couch could not fit through the front door, so they put the couch in the house through the front window. He will never forget the faces of people driving by, laughing at them, trying to figure out who are these new people and what are they doing. And so Tyler played basketball and football. He's a Fort Bragg graduate, and now he coaches in youth sports. Tyler's married to his wife, Kelly. She's the one that pinned on the badge. They have two children named Nicholas, Jacqueline, and very energetic Australian Shepherd named Lucy. Tyler's wanted to be a police officer since he was 9, an officer to help others who are not able to help themselves in situations. I've always cared for others and their well-being before my own. I'm very excited for the opportunity and has presented itself to me and my family. I would like to thank everyone throughout this journey, especially my wife, Kelly, who is the anchor of our family. And none of this would have been possible without you. I love you. That's from Tyler. Sorry. I would also thank the police department staff and the city council for believing in me and giving me a local person like me the opportunity of a lifetime. Thank you. So, that's Tyler Baker and his family, so congratulations. Next, we have David Franco. And so David was born and raised in Fort Bragg by his parents, Sharon and Freddie, are in the front row. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. The brothers are all here. They don't like me because I sold them, but I think we worked it out. And I cannot imagine calling any other place home. I've been a carpenter for about 20 years. My entire family has been construction. The Franco family is well known in the community for their construction ability. After getting out of high school, he did a little bit of computer programming, but fell into the love with his family of construction, and they're pretty well known in the community. I'm honored to be accepted into the Fort Bragg Police family and will do my best to perform my duties and to uphold the values of this department. David is a captain with the Fort Bragg Fire Department, which he has spent a majority of his time with them, and he has a great respect for the police department. I would like to thank Casey, my fiance, for all her support in holding down our life while I've been at the police academy for the last 6 months. My children, Layton, Haven, thank you. I can't even read my own writing. Maverick and Remington, congratulations and thank you. And finally, we have Antoinette Moore and her father and her mother's in the audience. I don't know if there's any other relatives, if she is. Antoinette is from Sonoma County, moved to Fort Bragg last April when she accepted a job as a community service officer for our department. We recognize Moore's ability to advance, and she eagerly accepted the challenge to attend the police academy. Moore came to us with 15 years of experience in customer service, mostly work in the human services profession. Each job has assisted in some way, which has led to where I am today. Over the years, I developed a passion for law enforcement and have a great respect for police officers. I work very hard to achieve my goal to be an officer. I'm beyond blessed to be able to work alongside the amazing people that make up the Fort Bragg Police Department. To be of service to the people of the city of Fort Bragg is an honor and very much a privilege. I look forward to serving the people of Fort Bragg along with the department for many years to come. So, Officer Moore, thank you. I got bouquets for all the family and stuff, so if you want to pick them up when you're leaving for the spouses. I got to give credit to, it's these guys did a lot of hard work, but as we all know, being family and family members, it's the significant other that's at home trying to keep down the household, the kids, getting them to different places. So I applaud you all for what you did to help these guys get through the times. It's difficult to lose someone, for a couple of days, weeks, but 6 months is a long time. I mean, I know they rushed home on, Saturdays and back leaving on Sundays. So thank you for taking care of them and making it a event that they could get through. And there's more to come. They work long hours and long days. So the captain, you want to say anything?
I'm just really excited. Anytime we have one person add to the team, that's huge. I think this is the first time in history that we have three at the same time. You'll see a lot of us out there on the streets doubled up, and they do have a good 16 weeks of moving around, nights, days, to make sure they get everything. So if you see two of us out at once, please stop and grab them and tell them your thoughts on the community. And I'm really happy to have three new locals to come help us out and keep our department together.
So the captain is actually in charge of training, so he'll be in charge of all three. He's actually training more because we're shorthanded. Those guys back there, most of them are training officers. They'll be working with them and supervisors. And so those will be those training people that train these people every day. And so it'll be a process of, they'll be evaluated daily. They'll rotate through all the schedules. They'll rotate through trainers. And so they get as much exposure to all the calls that we deal with so that eventually they can be on their own. So we're really excited. And so congratulations to all of you. And we appreciate the hard work, and we're looking forward to your service to the community. So thank you. And I got to say really fast that these are all local people. And so we know they're going to be loyal and they're going to stay in the community for a long period of time. So they're not going anywhere. So thank you. And thank you all for coming. Flowers, we'll get flowers for everyone. I want to really quickly address the council when these guys get done. So in March of 2020, I attended my first mid-year budget review. After 1 month as your interim police chief, I informed you of the need to invest in the police personnel. You as council listened and acted, allowing this department as of today to be fully staffed. In the last 2.5 years, we have promoted, we being you, have promoted 3 persons from CSO, McHugh, Beek, and Moore. And we have 6 new hires, Frank, Miles, Shaw, Word, Baker, and now Franco. So this evening, you hired the 8th, 9th, and 10th officer of the department. Your patrol staff is fully staffed as allocated by the budget to have 10 patrol officers for 4 sergeants, 1 captain, and 1 chief. In addition, we have 2 CSOs officers, a CSO transfer officer, and 2 admin officers, and a volunteer chaplain, and a brand new care unit, which is currently staffed with 1 person, with 2 others in the final hiring process, which should be completed by the end of this month. I applaud you all for working with us to accomplish this goal and the many other accomplishments you have completed for the city. This is one of many reasons why I accepted this short-term position. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, is that it, Chief? All right, thank you very much. We're going to move on the agenda. We have a few proclamations to read. I believe we have 4. I've asked my fellow city council members to share in reading. The first one, we will give everybody 1 minute to get out of the door here, and so we can have our attention up here.
I think, Mayor, if I could, it gives me a chance to reciprocate from the council to our interim police chief, John Multy, the appreciation we have for the job he's done. And he did the actual hiring. We may have given him the policy direction and the funding, but he did the actual hiring and recruiting from within. So anyway, I don't know if he can hear me or not, but we should all thank him as well for a job very well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, the first proclamation we're going to read tonight is in recognition of Susan Collins, who has been named Grand President of the Native Daughters of the Golden West, June 26, 2022. So, whereas Susan Collins, being a citizen of Fort Bragg, has been raised to the position of Grand President of the Native Daughters of the Golden West. And whereas Susan has traveled and visited parlor members throughout the state of California while representing Fort Bragg, and whereas Susan will be presiding over the Grand Parlor annual meeting from June 22nd to the 30th in Winter Park. And whereas Susan has served her community at home and throughout California selflessly, and whereas The purpose of Native Daughters of the Golden West is to preserve the past history of California by marking historic spots, preserving early day relics and traditions, and assisting in restoring missions, lighthouses, and landmarks. And whereas Native Daughters of the West has undertaken numerous statewide activities, including, but not limited to, scholarship funding, child welfare project administration, preservation of pioneer grave sites, and installation of plaques at historical sites. And whereas Native Daughters of the Golden West has over 3,000 members in over 60 California cities and communities. And whereas Sunday, June 26, 2022 marks the opening of the Native Daughters of the Golden West Grand Parlor annual meeting with Grand President Susan Collins will be presiding over. Now therefore, I, Bernie Norvell, Mayor of the City of Fort Bragg, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim June 26, 2022, a day to honor a fellow Fort Bragg citizen and Grand President of the Native Daughters of the Golden West term 2021 through 2022, Susan Collins. Susan, if you could come up, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate receiving this award. I love the city of Fort Bragg, and everywhere I go, I talk it up, and many, many people come here, including weekend before last, we had over 50 visitors to our area coming to what we call My Homecoming, bringing them back to my area. They enjoyed it tremendously. We went out to the botanical gardens, we went out to the lighthouse for a picnic, we took a ride on the skunk train. One of our members, who's part of the Historical Society, gave us a tour of the Guest House Museum, and another one gave us a tour of downtown, highlighting women's history, the women of Fort Bragg's history. If you ever get a chance, you should take that walk one of these times. Native Daughters is an organization of very strong women who are dedicated to the preservation of history and landmarks of California. And we do many community things, organization as well, besides many of our local members who are here tonight, are also volunteers in other areas of the city. So I want to thank all my members who are here to support me, and all the members of Native Daughters of the Golden West for promoting me after 6 long years to being the Grand President. And I also have, my president, Frida Clayton, has some cards if anyone would be interested in more information about Grand Parlor or joining us. We are going to be doing a big membership drive, so if you're interested in being a Native Daughter, look us up, ndgw.org on the computer. Anyway, so thank you so much again.
Is anyone here from the bee pollinator group? I didn't see anybody earlier, maybe somebody slipped in. If not, then I'll just go ahead and read the proclamation. I'm the city representative for our bee city garden. This is a proclamation for National Pollinator Week, June 20th through 26th, 2022. Whereas pollinator species, such as thousands of species of bees, are essential partners in producing much of our food supply, and whereas pollinator species provide significant environmental benefits that are necessary for maintaining healthy, diverse urban and suburban ecosystems, and whereas pollination plays a vital role for the trees and plants of our community, enhancing our quality of life and creating recreational and economic development opportunities. And whereas in the last year, the city of Fort Bragg has managed urban landscapes and public lands that include many municipal parks and greenways, as well as wildlife habitats. And whereas the city of Fort Bragg encourages developers and residents to use bee BEE, friendly landscaping and promote wise conservation stewardship, including the protection of pollinators and maintenance of their habitats in urban and suburban environments. Now therefore, I, Lindy Peters, on behalf of Bernie Norvell, Mayor of the City of Fort Bragg, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of June 20th through the 26th as National Pollinator Week in the City of Fort Bragg and urge all citizens to recognize this observance. So thank you, and I'll see that this gets to Cornelia Reynolds.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, please.
Okay, I have a proclamation to read as well for the LGBTQI plus Pride Month, June 2022. Whereas the month of June is officially celebrated as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex LGBTQI plus Pride Month, celebrating the many contributions and accomplishments of LGBTQI plus individuals, and whereas Fort Bragg is committed to being inclusive and welcoming of all, regardless of their sexual orientation, and recognizes that we're a diverse community and enriched by this diversity, and whereas Fort Bragg supports the rights of every citizen to experience equality and freedom from discrimination, and whereas this month we reconfirm our commitment to do more to support LGBTQI plus rights, and whereas Pride Month also reminds us that acceptance of LGBTQI plus individuals is different than tolerance of LGBTQI plus individuals, and whereas today the rights of LGBTQI plus Americans are under relentless attack, members of the LGBTQI plus community, especially people of color and trans people, continue to face discrimination and cruel, persistent efforts to undermine their human rights. The dangerous anti-LGBTQI plus legislation that has been introduced and passed in states across the country, targeting transgender children and their parents and interfering with their access to health care. These unconscionable attacks have left countless LGBTQI plus families in fear and pain. And whereas the Fort Bragg City Council invites everyone to consider how we can live and work together with a commitment to mutual respect for, understanding, and acceptance of all members of our community. And now, therefore, I, Jessica Morsell-Hay, on behalf of Bernie Norvell, Mayor of the City of Fort Bragg, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2022 as LGBTQI plus Pride Month.
Thank you. And we have one more. Councilmember Raffinen, please.
Okay, I have the proclamation for Juneteenth Day. Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Juneteenth Independence Day, Emancipation Day, Emancipation Celebration, and Freedom Day, is the oldest known celebration commemorating the ending of slavery in the United States and has been celebrated by the Black community for over 150 years. And whereas President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforward shall be free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas Juneteenth, or June 19th, 1865, is considered the date when the last slaves in America were freed, with General Gordon Granger rode into Galveston, Texas, and issued General Order Number 3, almost 2.5 years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas June 19th symbolizes freedom, celebrates the abolishment of slavery, reminds all Americans of the significant contributions of African Americans to our society, and in the time for reflection and rejoicing, assessment, self-improvement, and planning for the future. And whereas Juneteenth celebrations are a tribute to those African Americans then and now who fought so long and worked so hard to make the dream of equality a reality. And whereas President Biden called upon Americans to recommit together to the work of equality, and justice, and
commit together to eradicate systematic racism that still undermines our founding ideals and collective prosperity. Now, therefore, I, Marcia Raffanan, on behalf of Bernie Noel, Mayor of the City of Fort Bragg, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth Day in the City of Fort Bragg and urge all the residents to become more aware and conditionally educated on the significance of this celebration in Black history and in the heritage of our nation.
Okay, thank you all for that. We do have one more bit of information under mayor's recognition. The city council today was in the receipt of a resignation letter from Chief John Nolte. I will go ahead and read it. On February 4th, 2020, I was selected as your interim police chief for the city of Fort Bragg. I was honored to not only be chosen for this position, but to be granted the opportunity with the support of the city council and city manager to redirect the police department into a positive, reliable resource for the community. Throughout the 2.5 years as interim police chief, we have gradually rebuilt trust within our community, became one of the only fully staffed police departments in Northern California, and will continuously improve for the betterment and safety of our community. Especially with a full staff department, it allows for proper public safety, protects the quality of life for the community, and lessens the financial burden. Unfortunately, due to my obligation with the California Public Employee Retirement System, CalPERS, it is my time to leave the department and retire from law enforcement. I propose to the City Council to provide direction to the next police chief to continue offering the department much-needed guidance, mentoring, training, and support to maintain all the accomplishments we have successfully completed during this time. As I depart, I would like to request my police chief badge and police chief retired ID card when I retire as new chief and the new chief is seated. My last day will be June 30th, 2022. Okay, and that is it for mayor's announcements. It brings us to public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have anybody in the room? Please.
Hello, City Council. I'm Valerie Stump. I'm the Code Enforcement Officer for the City of Fort Bragg. And tonight I'm here on behalf of city staff, some that are here and some that are not. City staff, will you raise your hands? Together we drafted a letter and signed it that expresses our concerns with our ability to continue adequately providing for our families and also being able to afford living out here in the community that we work and love. So I'm going to read that letter for you right now. Dear City Council members, thank you in advance for your time and attention to this matter. It is our understanding as classified employees that the labor negotiations between management and our union have run into difficulties. The council agreed to conduct a class and comp study. All of us participated in that process, and we are disappointed that the contractor has failed to deliver the results in a timely manner. Further, we are facing unprecedented inflation, and the standard increase of 3% is well below what is needed for staff to meet the cost of living on the coast. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index has increased 8.3% at the end of April, and at-home food prices increased 10.8%. In negotiations, our committee asked for an increase to help keep us ahead of the inflation so we don't fall further behind. So far, the response from the city would constitute a wage cut once you factor in inflation. On numerous occasions, council has stated that they recognize the importance of staff retention. However, the failure to provide an adequate cost of living increase does not represent valuing our work. It is getting harder and harder to make ends meet. We need to get a reasonable cost of living increase just to keep from falling further behind. There have been several positions that have been advertised in the last 6 months, and the city has been unsuccessful in attracting qualified applicants. As you know, we have a small staff, but we get a lot done. We wear a lot of hats, and we are proud of the work that we do, and we love our town. We request that you strongly consider the matter of compensation and direct management to agree to at least a 5% cost of living increase. Sincerely, city staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Like to speak on non-agenda items? Yes, anything that's not on the agenda? Yeah, please come to the podium.
Well, excuse me. Ron White, 906 Glass Beach Drive. I've been waiting 20 years to speak, and I came up here to reserve time to make a presentation on Glass Beach on the next city council meeting. And I just want to let you know that it's we received a grant, and we're going to be doing some big things. This will be, the next time will be a time of many, and I hope to entertain you at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room on non-agenda? Madam Clerk, I believe we have one on Zoom, please.
Yes, we have one person on Zoom who requested an accommodation, but no hand is raised.
Okay, so we'll move on to public comment on consent calendar. Anyone in the room?
Now the hand is up.
Okay, please, we'll go back.
Okay. Jenny, you have 3 minutes. Jenny, on Zoom? I've allowed permission to speak, but she apparently is still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. I did, this is Jenny Shattuck. I did request an accommodation, and I see it's on the consent calendar about continuing or not continuing Zoom meetings. And I think it's really important that the public has a chance to speak, especially with the COVID numbers right now, that you guys continue to allow people. It just seems to me that the more public input that you could get would be the best. And so thank you for allowing me the accommodation to be able to be on here, but most people don't know about that option. And I know there was people earlier today saying, where's the Zoom link? So I just think you guys would be awesome if you could continue the Zoom for the public, just like the Board of Supervisors and other city councils are doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nobody else, we'll move on to public comment on consent calendar. Anyone in the room? Madam Clerk, if you could again check, please.
No hands raised.
Okay, we'll move over to closed session. Anyone in the room like to speak on the closed session item this evening? Nope, seeing none. Madam Clerk, if you could one more time, please.
Okay. Sorry, well, I switch screens here. If you wish to speak on the closed session matter, please raise your hand. There's no hand.
Okay, so we will move on to staff comments, and I believe Mr. Whoopi has some information for the council.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I just have a quick update on our transient occupancy tax and sales tax numbers for Q3. I'm gonna share my screen here. All right, so if I could turn your attention to the presentation before you, for comparison, I've put together the last 4 fiscal years. In orange is the current fiscal year, 21-22. Green is the prior fiscal year. As a reminder, we had our best year to date for TOT at 3.3 million. Last fiscal year, in blue is the 19-20 numbers that was at the height of COVID, and 18-19 intent for pre-pandemic numbers. So the The strong performance, as I mentioned from prior year, that continued through the first two quarters, as depicted on the screen. July through December, we recorded strong results, apart from October. In the third quarter, which is to the right, the second half of the year, January and February, we saw increases of 5% and 10% respectively compared to the prior fiscal year. In March, it was down by 5% and 7% in April. As a reminder, the amended budget is 3.3 million. So factoring the July through April actuals, we're currently at 83% of the amended budget. And those declines in March and April could be attributed to the increase in fuel prices, as that could impact some of our local Vista members based in our beautiful city. We looking forward to the May and June. Those data would come in the next couple of months, so we'd kind of see the impacts of fuel price increases, if that's going to impact our numbers considerably. But as it stands, we're at 83% of budget with 600. Sorry, that's a shortfall of 428,000 to meet the amended budget. For sales tax, our consumer price index is at 8.2% as of May. So that has continued to increases. In quarter three, not much surprise here, just a 4% gain compared to the prior year. April through June will really see if consumer demand has been affected by inflation and consumer price index. So we'll closely monitor that. And there at the bottom, a 1.9 million amended budget. We're at 83% of the budget of 1.6 million to the quarter three. And that's it for me. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Whippy. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Whippy? No? Saying none. Thank you again. Mr. Spar, do you have any comments?
John, do you have any comments?
Yes. Mr. Smith, please.
Thank you. Mayor, can you hear me okay? Okay. Didn't test my microphone. So just a couple of updates and a couple of requests also to the public. So the soccer field project is out for bid currently, and there are two portions of that project. The other is site work, which we hope to offer that up for local contractors, much more efficient that they're here in town. So we're separating that project out into two pieces. So you'll see that second one coming here soon. Biosolids dryer is operational. There are a few little small problems that we're having. We're trying to work that out and should get that completed here pretty quick, depending on parts and when they get here. So that's huge. It actually did operate and run solids through and dry them, just it's not up to temperature. So we'll get there pretty soon. And again, thank you to the operators spending that time on that project to follow through. Maintenance workers will be flushing fire hydrants. This is an biannual maintenance need that we have. We try to certainly get that done before summer season because it's drier weather and the need for water for the residents. But this is just standard maintenance. We do this on a regular basis, and it actually saves quite a bit of water in the long run. City notification. So we are still getting late notification on water leaks and potential sewer overflows that goes through social media and doesn't actually quite get to us for a number of days after. So just that's to the public. Just appreciate notification as early as possible for some of those things. And that's all I have.
Okay. Did you want to briefly mention the $25,000 bonus, if you will?
Yes, certainly. Yeah. So status on soccer fields / Wiggly Giggly. We did get $25,000 from State Farm Insurance. They put out a grant, and I think many people in the community were involved in that, voting online to help us out. We needed to get a certain number. Well, the higher the number, the better. We just barely squeaked in to the top 100, and we got that $25,000, and that was through Adventist and their assistants as well. So I appreciate them helping us out with that.
I'd like to thank Chantel O'Neill for pushing that real hard with all the staff and the community and going out to all the public events during the blue economy and making it happen. Brought it home. Thank you all.
Any questions for Mr. Smith? No? Okay, we'll move on to matters from council members. Vice Mayor, do you have anything? Okay, Councilmember Alvin Smith.
So last Tuesday, I was, as usual, an inspector at the county voting polls. And again, I encourage you all to contact the county registrar and sign up to volunteer. It's quite an eye-opener. Even with all in-person voting now not happening, it's all by mail. There's still plenty of things to handle, and questions, concerns, people showing up at the wrong place, but mostly I think the number one thing was their ballots were missing, or there's other problems to handle. So it's kind of fun, and you meet a lot of people. So there's that, and I wanted to say that I've been traveling a lot for various reasons, committees, weddings, things like that, and we have the cheapest gas in this town by far. The most expensive I saw was well over $8. The very cheapest was out of state in Oregon. So that was an eye-opener. I would like to have our city council consider a continued hybrid for council as well as the public. I know personally 3 friends, close friends, that managed to make it all the way until now and now have COVID, and they're very sick. So I don't think it's over, and I'd like us to be able to have that opportunity to not expose ourselves if that was an option. And finally, I'm very excited. Our finance committee met, and our personnel manager, Julie, and finance manager, Isaac, have put together some great options for childcare for both city staff and council. So nothing's set in stone, but I know we're going to bring our recommendations to the council on that. And I know a lot of committee have written to us saying they want to support that. So could mean that we could get even more people to run for city council, people that could stay on city council, potentially. And so this would be we would be a trendsetter. There are not very many cities that offer that. And I'd like us to be right up there in the front. And that's all I have.
Okay, Councilmember Peters.
Just briefly, the Public Works Committee met. One of the issues that we talked about that we're going to put on the agenda for the future is with the popularity of the Coastal Trail, and most of the folks that are utilizing the beauty of the trail are on foot, pedestrians. And there are bicycles, and now we're seeing electric bicycles that can go up to speeds of 30, 35 miles an hour. And people are doing that on the trail, and it's created a dangerous situation, perhaps, especially because EV bicycles are so difficult to hear. They don't make a whole lot of noise other than the actual wheels hitting the gravel or something like that. So it was brought to our attention, and Councilmember Alvin Smith mentioned it as well, because I've had some people now bring it up to me that this is their concern, that it's a problem. And we do allow electric vehicles on the trail as long as a person is a special needs person, someone who needs the assistance of a wheelchair perhaps, or some sort of battery-assisted electric vehicle. And we did allow segways. You might remember that discussion, some of you that have been following things here. So we're going to discuss it, but I think probably we're going to discuss more of a speed limit type of option, or some kind of sign that recommends folks just slow down a little bit that are using those vehicles. We really can't ban them all together. But anyway, not too many people attended that Public Works Committee meeting, but this is something I think that affects a lot of people that use that trail some on a daily basis. So we'll be discussing that next month. I think, John, and it'll be on the agenda, and we'll see where it goes from here. But summer's coming, and we want to make sure it's safe to walk the trail.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll look forward to it. Councilmember Raffnet?
I don't have anything. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
I forgot to mention that, because of my passes with CAL FIRE, there's so much wind happening right now, and it is warmer as you go in. And so I just want to caution folks that with the wind and the warmth, the pygmy especially is just ripe for fire. And so you need to be extremely cautious, and spark arresters, whatever you need, watching your lawnmowers with rocks, whatever, cigarettes, all those things, the usual things. It's even worse this year than it's ever been. It is really dry out there. That's it.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to consent calendar. Unless there's anything that somebody wants to pull, we will accept a motion to adopt the consent as presented. Anyone?
Can I pull 5C, please?
Yes.
5C?
Anyone else? Okay, we will entertain a motion to adopt the consent calendar minus 5C.
I so move.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Raffinen,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Albin Smith,
Yes.
Morsel Hay,
Yes.
Norvell.
Yes. Okay, 5C, Councilmember Raffinen.
Okay, it's page 8 of 17. There's great, I know everyone worked long and hard on this, 3+ years. There's no really, still, there's no residential setback set in stone, so I'm still gonna say no to this. So, yeah, but I guess that's up to planning, or never mind. So, yeah.
Anyone else have a comment or question on 5C before we go to the public? No? Anyone in the room like to speak on 5C? Madam Clerk, if you could check our one on Zoom, please, for 5C.
Yes, if you would like to speak on 5C, please raise your hand. No hand is raised.
Okay, back to council, and I will make a motion that we adopt 5C as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you could take roll, please.
Raffinen,
No.
Peters,
Yes.
Albin Smith,
No.
Morsel Hay,
Yes.
Norvell.
Yes. Okay. Disclosure of ex parte communication on agenda items. We only have one here tonight. Anyone? No? Okay. We have no public hearing. Conduct of business. Receive annual report from the Noyo Science Center. Ms. Siemens, please.
Yes, hello, thank you so much. We're always so happy to come here and show you how we're putting your money to good use. So, June, you can get that going for me. I'm Sheila Siemens. I'm the director of the Noyo Center for Marine Science, for those of you who don't know me. We are a nonprofit here on the coast since 2015. Yes, next slide, June. Thanks. Sorry. There we go. And for those of you who aren't familiar with our organization, our mission is to advance ocean conservation through education, exploration, and experience. And even though we're coming out of a period of retraction, I hope to show you how we've been really pushing that forward in the last year. Next slide, please. The city of Fort Bragg, oh wait, June, I think you might have the wrong one. The council update, not the blue economy. Yeah, you got my proposal for my presentation of blue economy symposium, which I will take this moment to say was a resounding success. And I know you and your staff worked extra hard on that, and had to pull together quite an interesting group of those of us who have too many things to do. And what turned out to be an excellent discussion. It brought a ton of momentum to this community and a lot of positive energy for the Noyo Center, for instance. Are you getting the other one? No, this is, see that says Blue Economy Symposium. The other PowerPoint was the City Council update. I'm sorry, I should have just deleted this one. I apologize. You can just close this one down. Yeah.
Took forever to load this.
Yes, you have it in your handout. That's it, June. Good job. All right, so you can go back one. I just wanted to point out that we deliver this mission through our now 3 different facilities. As you know, we've had the Crow's Nest out on the coastal trails since the city helped us move it there and set it up as our interpretive center. We now have the Discovery Center across the street in downtown Fort Bragg, where we are able to do so much of our education and test all of the methods that we want to impart those kind of messages to our community for the ultimate Ocean Science Center. And we are happy to say that we recently purchased our 3rd building. Ever since the city first initiated conversations about the Noyo Center, this idea of having a connection to the water for boat access has been on our plates, on our agenda, and we finally found a building that we think is a really great one. We bought Carini's Fish Grotto down on North Harbor Drive, and we're turning that into, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but we now have 3 locations in which we can work. So next slide, please, June, thanks. At the Discovery Center, for instance, this sort of echoes a little bit of your presentation on the TOT tax. You can see that orange graph is 2021. The blue above that, the little blue for the first few months, is what we've tracked this year for visitorship. I wanted to point out that in the first few months of last year until May, we were closed for the main museum due to COVID, but we still retained over almost 25,000 people at the Discovery Center once we opened. And we're well on track to beat that this year if those visitor numbers stay up. And we're excited about that's just been a resounding success. And we're really excited about the ability for us to reach a much broader audience through that facility. Okay, thanks, June. Education. So mostly 2021, we've been out of the classroom, and I just wanted to put an example of some numbers during this last whale festival. Even though the chamber decided not to hold the whale festival, we went forward, and thanks to John and the folks at Public Works, we were able to put the blue whale skeleton out at the wastewater treatment plant again. We entertained and brought over 640 kids, for instance, during that week, and 140 teachers and chaperones. So it was a busy, busy, busy week. We actually got asked to leave it up for another week, which I didn't tell you. We just went ahead and said no to that one. Anyway, we've been out in the classroom. We've been trying to innovate. The teachers are still sort of getting their heads around this world that they're teaching in now. So we've been sort of staying out and doing field trips and outdoor classes with kids. So this is a good example of one of those. Okay, Jean. The intern. So the internship program is it's one of my favorite growth programs for us. We have a number of different interns that we work more intensely with. In the middle, there's Francesca Mills. She's a high school junior. If you go across the street, you can see the beautiful sea otter articulation she's working on in this picture. Pele on the On the left there is working with Sarah on marine mammal stranding. And then we have this amazing paper that was just written by one of our interns who's now in college, a rising junior in college, on our use of advanced imaging technologies for marine mammal education and research. Incredible paper written by lead author is one of our interns. And we now have a feather in our cap that we have an academically published paper as well. Okay, June. And then, of course, summer camps. We had 3 summer camps last year, and they sold out before we could basically say the words. And so we've made 4 camps this year, and they did the same. We actually sold them out almost before we did sell 3 of them out before we even put any publicity out for it. It's amazing how much parents want their kids out there learning this stuff, and we've managed to put together a really great week-long program that we do for younger kids, and then we have one for the older kids. And so it's a great time. We're looking forward to that starting next week, actually. Okay. And then our community science, otherwise known as citizen science. This is also a really great area for us to work with our community. We've started, I think since I've spoken to you last, 2 new citizen science programs. We've now taken over the Red Tide program, which is a public health, the State Department of Public Health program to look at phytoplankton and mussels for public health consumption related to toxins. We also integrate that work into our marine mammal research. We see those animals eating the same thing. So when they have unusual behavior, we try to marry the 2 data sets together. We have a really great beach survey team, and rather than just hoping that people report marine mammals to us, we now have what's called an effort-based survey. So we go out every 2 weeks and we survey the same beaches, and we've seen a real uptick in reporting of marine mammals. We continue to clean the beaches. I hope you noticed that we have some of the cleanest beaches in the state, I will venture to say, and that's because we have a really, really motivated group of people that like to go out there and keep it that way. And we are just about to start a Sea Star BioBlitz program. I'm happy to report that we've seen the very first sunflower Sea Star along our coast south of Fort Ord, I think, in Oregon, in 5 years. So we're really eager to get out there on these extreme low tides and see if we can find any more. That's a species that's critical to come back in order to control the purple urchin. So it's a glimmer of hope in the story of our kelp forests. Okay, Jean. And then the volunteers. So just to give you an idea, and I have to say, I think this is underreported because we don't necessarily collect information on every hour that's donated. I have one of my best volunteers sitting here right now. 49 active volunteers right now that have donated over 1,500 hours to our organization. Crow's Nest docents, those citizen science programs, special events, farmers markets, fishermen's markets, and remodeling that harbor building. That's a really big area for our volunteers to help us with right now. Okay. And then research. So to give you an example on our 2 sort of significant research programs, marine mammal response, in the 12 months from April to April, we responded to 76 animals. In the last month, I think we've had 7 or 8 animals, including that beaked whale, which was so rare that, and that came up the jug handle, that it made the papers in France. We've been working with researchers in Poland trying to identify the species, and we still don't know yet. We sent a bunch of samples down to TMMC to do genetic analysis, and we've collected the skeleton to display at the Discovery Center in the future. So we're excited about that. The Help the Kelp program, that is a really great, that's a really great growth opportunity for us in this coming year because we now have that facility and we really want to move forward with an abalone captive broodstock program. Nobody's really doing anything for red abalone right now as far as making sure the species is preserved, and really moving forward with the purple urchin aquaculture demonstration project so we can show folks what it's like to eat purple urchins so we can all start eating them. Okay, Jim. So here's our place in Mario Harbor. We're so excited about it. I think the ability for us to now get into the water and take kids out into the estuary. You know, we've been trying to get kids out into the ocean for a number of years, and it's really challenging to plan a trip and then have the weather or the water, you know, sort of dash our hopes to go out. And to have the harbor now where we can take kids out, they can see sea lions and harbor seals and river otters frolicking right in front of them. And we can give them that immersive experience. I think is going to be a really impactful educational opportunity. But we're going to be able to do these things, move forward with some of these ecosystem issues that I've just been talking about, the abalone and the urchin. We're going to do some seaweed tumble tanks for those of you who are at the Blue Economy Symposium to feed both of those animals, and really try to work with the harbor also on the Harbor District on river monitoring. Let's figure out what the water quality is like, what the salinity is during the summer. Let's address some of these issues that we've sort of let be barriers to some of these conservation aquaculture issues from moving forward. So we're looking forward to doing that. And then next June, but you've probably heard that we're also going to use the commercial kitchen to open the Slack Tide Cafe, and there's our very cute new logo for that. In an effort to try to continue to diversify our income stream and to move away from constant fundraising, we are going to build a business that we hope will be sustainable and support our mission at this place. So we'll utilize the commercial kitchen for some of that seafood tasting, hopefully work with you guys as well. But also, try to show the community what consumption means when you're running a business like this and how we can reduce that. And so we'll try to integrate plastics recycling in our facility. We're going to get crushers. We're going to take those plastics we use for our business and turn them into products that we either can use through 3D filament with our 3D printer or products for the cafe itself. So we're excited about that. There's just so much enthusiasm for this, and we hope that we have it open in the next month. We're working through all the county permit issues at the moment. Okay, June. And then I'm excited to show you the conceptual plans. I can't believe I haven't shown you these yet. These are the conceptual plans for the Ocean Science Center out on the headlands. We're really excited. We've worked with Fowlong Architects to get to this point. That's the aerial view with the wetland swale to the right of the buildings, utilizing the runway for the parking. Okay, next slide. This is a rendering from the point looking towards the building, and that main part of the building you see is the exhibit hall. There's a little cafe. Again, we're trying to understand what it means to run a sustainably and ecologically sustainable cafe, so we can do it out at the Ocean Science Center. People can come in off the coastal trail and have a cup of coffee and warm up. And then our lab space as well. I'll show you. Oh my goodness. You can go to the next one. That's just basically the floor plan for the bottom. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. I'm happy to come back and tell you more about this or to go over these plans with you in more detail. But right now we have a very minimally designed lab space. That's one of the things I want to point out the most. And I'll talk about our next steps where we may look at that and figure out how that could really support a more robust blue economy initiative in our community. And that's what will happen in the next round. Okay, June. And then, well, that does not look good on this slide, does it? This is the second floor exhibit hall. So basically we have this 73-foot blue whale skeleton that you walk underneath on the main floor, and then you can go up to the second floor and see it eye to eye. Okay, next. We hope to build a giant kelp tank to help talk about the issues related to our kelp forests, and then just have more interactive displays throughout the thing, throughout the exhibit hall. Next, June. And then the blue whale, which is of course our feature exhibit. We collected this skeleton thanks to the city's help in 2009. We worked with the Idaho Virtualization Lab to digitally scan and render every one of those bones. So that's actually our skeleton with its injury on its back spine there. And now we can take that skeleton and manipulate it into a pose and put it into the building in a way that maximizes the visitor experience and figure out exactly what our structural needs are as well. So that's exciting. Okay, June. And then what we're really trying to do first, because we need to have a place to build a 73-foot skeleton, is to create that whale laboratory, what we're calling the laboratory. So on the rendering on the above, it's in the corner over by my little picture, is where we're hoping to build the workshop that will allow us to put this together. We want to do that as a first step. And get those bones. We've mostly got the bones out of John's or the public works space over there, but we really want to get them secured into a safe facility and start working on the restoration of that skeleton. And that will hopefully be something that we move forward this coming year. Okay. Next slide, yeah. So the next steps, I'm excited to announce that we got an EDA grant, almost $1 million grant, which will allow us to do a 30% design for the schematic, for the Ocean Science Center, the schematic design, and that will really dig into the systems and what the building will require of what it can produce and what it will require from all that we've designed. We're going to do more detailed design of the exhibits, including the giant kelp tank, the dome, and the blue whale, as I mentioned before. We're going to do the environmental review, NEPA and CEQA. And through a partnership with West Business Development Center, we're going to create a business plan and the next steps for the Blue Economy's regional strategy. So I think those will give us all the tools to really go out and launch a capital campaign to get our facility built. We're really excited about that. Next, please. So this slide, wow, what happened to our... I hope you can see that better on your screen. I think you can. It looks like we got a ton of money this last year, but really a good portion of that money was because we were able to buy the Carini's building because of a generous donation of a building here in town. So that's included in the gifts in kind. The transfer of the property, of the Headlands property from the city to the Noyo Center also is included in that gifts in kind. So that's what makes that segment of our income so big. We also worked really hard to take advantage of some of the stimulus programs out there. We got both rounds of the PPP, we got an EIDL loan, and of course your TOT taxes in that government grant category as well. We spend a good portion of our money on our programs, obviously. Fundraising and special events, I really should pull those two out because it's a little bit misleading, but all of the events we put in through town, the scavenger hunts and the whale festival, that's included in fundraising and special events. So that's our income and expenses for the year. We're actually more balanced than it seems if you remove the gifts in kind that are one-offs from this year. Okay, June. Oh, that's it. All right, I'm happy to take any questions. I have my president here, as you know, Mr. Turner. He's happy to answer questions as well.
Anyone have any questions? Vice Mayor, please.
Thanks for the great presentation. And congratulations on the new building in the harbor. That's incredible.
So good.
A question that just came up for me as you were talking, you mentioned working on the Blue Economy regional strategy through the West Development. Would that be with the coalition that's built?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah, and it's really looking at how, there's a couple of, how Marianne at West Center talks about the regional planning, economic development planning programs that have SURF and other things. They're looking at Sonoma and Mendocino County together, sometimes even the whole North Coast. So how do we take advantage of these of these programs to bring as much to this region as we can? So yes, we will definitely rely on the Noyo Ocean Collective for participation in that. And she'll hire some consultants to help us facilitate that as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so would you see, for instance, identifying ways that the city and the Noyo Center could partner on grants and stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've already had a number of conversations about doing exactly that. I mean, there was such a momentum after the Blue Economy, and there are so many grant rounds out there right now. I mean, we are in this weird time where being an underserved community is really serving us well on the grant front. I mean, we're getting priority in a lot of grants, and I know that's a poor way of saying it, but you know what I mean. Absolutely, the more collaboration we can do, the better we are. And I think we have a really great group of people that are all really ready to work together and make that happen. So yes, I'm working with the city manager and a number of other folks to figure out what those next steps should be and how we can continue to build what's got started in that Blue Economy discussion.
That's really exciting. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Alvin Smith, please.
Yeah, thanks again, Sheila.
Yeah.
The big thing that comes up for me is housing of researchers.
Yeah.
And I tried to bend the ear, I'm sure I wasn't the only person, of the Mendocino College person that was attending the Blue Economy Symposium, saying that it absolutely has to happen for the survival of their school, but also for everything else to happen here. So other than the school providing dorms, which they should, and I didn't see anything in your plan that showed dorms. What was your plan? A whole bunch of Winnebagas all piled up in the parking lot, or what?
It's an excellent question. And actually in the first round of designs that the city did, yeah, you remember, Lindy, we had researcher housing. It's something that comes up all the time. We eliminated in this phase just to save costs, but I think that's the kind of thing that if it comes out in this regional strategy that we really need to do it, then we need to start building it into the program that we move forward with. I'm all for it. I've looked at other ways that we could potentially do it, jug handle, just put in that, but it's not reliable. And that actually, a number of people actually came up to me during the Blue Symposium and said, this is a problem we have. We don't know where to dock our boats and we don't know where to have people stay, especially given the cost of housing now. So I think we absolutely rethink that during this next phase of design. I'm tired of planning for property that we don't own. So I feel like we need to look at that 12 acres that is the Noyo Center property, the city and us, when I say we, and figure out what's the best way to use that property. Should we use that? I mean, originally we were thinking we would do native bluff restoration on the property that we weren't building the center on, but maybe that should become the Blue Economy Aquaculture Park until we can acquire more land. We're open to all those discussions and how we can utilize our space as effectively as we can to stimulate that kind of progress in our community. Absolutely.
Councilmember Peters.
Well, I think with the current situation on the property there on the South Coastal mill site, sure, I'm glad that you're there right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I think it's something I should point out, and maybe the rest of the council knows this, but I'm not sure they all do. When the city deeded that property to the Noyo Center for future development, there was covenants within that deed that said if nothing really happens out there within the next, I believe it was 10 years, Dave?
Yep.
That you would deed it back to the city.
Yep.
And I just want to give you a pat on the back for the progress you've made.
Yeah.
In that short time. I'm not sure how many years it's been, but clearly there's been tremendous progress, not only in planning and concepts, but in actual, you've got the former Carinis down there. You've got a dockside now. The Blue Economy Symposium, I think, like you said, got a lot of excitement and energy moving. So just a pat on the back for coming through from a council member who was there and had the faith to deed this property over to the Noyo Center. So
well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, it was the city's vision that got us to where we are, and I appreciate that. And again, I need to emphasize the importance of funding streams like the TOT tax, because it's unrestricted and lets us pay our staff time, which is the hardest thing to do. Of that $1 million grant, most of that's going to go to consultants to get us to those pieces that will allow us to fundraise for the center. So the unrestricted income that the TOT gets us is one of the most valuable things that we have, and so the city has been an incredible partner throughout this whole thing. And, we've designed, if you recall, we've designed that center, we've pushed it out on the bluff after talking with city staff. We pushed it out on the bluff a little bit, and we've been talking to the Coastal Conservancy about how we can work on property boundary issues. But if we can convince the Conservancy to let us put it out there, that provides a little bit more space for some of this Blue Economy initiative. I mean, this Blue Economy work that we want to do. And I think we should all sit down and really think about how to use that most effectively and how can we stimulate more of this stuff. So West, in the business plan, we really went, the nice thing about the EDA proposal is we really sort of got our heads around the whole economic development piece, which is, one of the reasons the city really wanted the Noyo Center to begin with. And so turning that into a blue economy incubator is something that we're also going to be examining in the business plan work.
Vice Mayor, you had another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to actually kind of add a comment based on the housing. I think part of what gets me so excited about the current focus on the regional collaboration with the coalition is, we talk about housing. It's an issue for everybody.
Yeah.
Certainly, as we want to increase the help foster more research here at the center. And I think I just wanted to point out that there have been some really incredible conversations happening, between Tim Karras and his staff at the college and the community land trust that's been forming and the Noyo Center and all these different players. And by working together, it makes these big plans so much more feasible.
Yeah, totally. It all feels possible all of a sudden. Yeah, where it seems so hard. Yeah, totally agree with that.
Okay. Anyone else have any more questions?
Right.
Councilmember Raffinen.
So I was hearing great things about your Discovery Center across the street there, and actually went there with a bunch of kids, and they had a blast, and it was great for all ages.
Yay, that's so good to hear. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that one of our interns this year is bilingual, and we really want to emphasize that with our new staff. So we're trying to really build in more. We're going to have more bilingual signage. We'll try to be more inclusive about all the communities that come down there. So I'm super excited about the way that place is shaping up. I didn't mean to interrupt you though. I apologize. No, go ahead. Yeah. So we're really going to be improving it even more. And we have a really nice program with the Exploratorium for another exhibit on plankton. And we just got funding for an exhibit on plastics that is going to work in tandem with a curriculum in the classroom. So our educators are going to go in the classroom and do trash audits with a lot of the kids. And then we're going to have the kids. We really learned that having the kids help us build out those exhibits is an extremely great way, not only to teach them, but to teach the community. So we're excited about the way that center is shaping up. I wish it were bigger, honestly.
Yeah. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks.
Great job.
Thanks.
Any questions from staff? No? Okay, Sheila, Dave. Yeah, thank you both for being here.
Sheila and board members, Mr. Turner, outstanding progress. We're really impressed. We really appreciate the update on how you're using the transient occupancy tax to further the education, hold the summer camps, and work on the Noyo Marine Center and improve everybody's life through this type of enrichment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it only works as a partnership, so we thank you the same. We thank the city for all that they've done to get the Noyo Center where it is today.
Okay, anybody from the public like to comment on the presentation? Madam Clerk, you could check our one, please.
Yes. Jenny?
Okay, great report there, an update. I know I totally support this project 100%. I just want to say, and I'll sound like a broken record for the past decade, if there's wild planning out there, if we could make sure that at some point, maybe, we could still restore the airstrip for emergency access in between bridges. Other than that, I totally support this project, and it's amazing. Thanks. Oh, and Sheila, I still have all those shoe soles for you.
I thought you might bring that up. I want to talk about it again.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, and thank you again for being here. All right, we are going to move on to our closed session. It is now 7:16. We will recess the meeting and reconvene in 10 minutes into closed.